In 2014, Oakland County, Michigan foreclosed on a rental property over an unpaid tax bill of $8.41. The county sold that property for $24,500 and kept every penny, $24,215 more than it was owed. That wasn't a clerical error. It was the statute working precisely as written, and versions of that statute covered roughly one American state in four. If you own property, this mechanism decides what happens to your equity, the value beyond what you owe, on the day a bill goes unpaid. So here's the plan. Exactly what the original rule said a tax collector could take, how a dozen-plus states quietly wrote that rule out of their laws, and the 9-0 Supreme Court case that forced it back in. Near the end, a 94-year-old's one-bedroom condo will carry the whole question. One honest note before we start. Statutes vary by state, and nothing here is legal or financial advice. The goal is just to own the mechanism. The rule is older than the country. Blackstone, the legal writer the founders learned from, said a collector who seizes a debtor's goods must sell them, keep the tax, and render back the overplus. Sell the cow, take what's owed, hand back the change. In 1798, the first federal direct tax law wrote that instinct into statute. Collectors could sell only so much of a tract of land as was necessary to satisfy the taxes due. Not the farm, the corner of the farm that covers the bill. And in 1884, the Supreme Court made it constitutional. In United States versus Lawton, the government itself bid $1,100 for a parcel at a tax sale against a debt of $170.50 and tried to keep the difference. The court refused, withholding the $929.50 surplus would violate the Fifth Amendment. The surplus wasn't a favor the government might choose to grant. It was the owner's property, held for the owner's use. Take a moment with how settled this was. By 1884, the limit stood twice over, written in statute, anchored in the Constitution. Take the debt, return the change. Which makes the next century genuinely strange, because that's the rule half the country proceeded to forget. To see what forgetting it costs, you need one picture, and we'll reuse it for the rest of the video. Take a home worth $100,000 carrying a $6,000 unpaid tax bill. The bill is real and the county has every right to collect it. Nobody in this story disputes that. The question is only about the other $94,000. The equity, the slice of the home's value that belongs to the owner and to no one else. Now, an ordinary creditor owed $6,000 can reach about $6,000. But a tax line attaches to the whole property, so foreclosure puts the entire $100,000 within reach of whoever runs the sale. Some states auction the land itself, others sell the debt to private investors, who collect double-digit interest until the owner redeems. Either way, the machinery ends at the same fork. Does the leftover $94,000 travel back to the owner or stay with the seller? The debt works like a toehold, a tiny claim that, under the right statute, becomes leverage over an asset many times its size. Hold on to those two bars, the small one and the big one. Every case that follows is a fight over the gap between them. Here's where it turns. In 1956, in a case called Nelson, New York City foreclosed on a parcel worth about $6,000 over $65 in unpaid water charges and kept everything. The Supreme Court let it stand, but on narrow grounds. The statute gave those owners a procedure to claim the excess value, and they never used it. That nuance got lost. For nearly 70 years, Nelson became the citation that let governments keep the change outright, and a family of forfeiture statutes grew up behind it. By 2020, 14 states let the government or a purchaser keep the surplus, and broader surveys counted around 22 states plus DC with some version of the mechanism. Minnesota was the purest case. Once the redemption window closed, the parcel simply forfeited to the state, and the former owner got nothing. Not by oversight, by design. Michigan ran one of the fastest clocks anywhere, roughly 2 years from delinquency to total loss. And in Maine, an unredeemed lien foreclosed by operation of law at 18 months. No court, no auction, no human decision at all. So by 2020, America ran two systems side by side. Half the country still honored the rule of 1798. In the other half, a $65 water bill was a toehold on the whole house. Which brings us to Geraldine Tyler. She was 94 and she owned a one-bedroom condo in Minneapolis. After she moved to a senior community, the taxes went unpaid, and with penalties, interest, and costs, the bill grew to about $15,000. Hennepin County took absolute title under Minnesota's forfeiture statutes, sold the condo for $40,000, and kept the $25,000 difference, just as the statute directed. Before I tell you what the Supreme Court did with this in 2023, pause for a second. Everything you've seen is on the table. Lawton and the Fifth Amendment on one side, 70 years of Nelson on the other. What would you predict, and by how many votes? The answer came down 9-0 for Tyler. Chief Justice Roberts wrote the opinion as a history lesson. Magna Carta, Blackstone's overplus, the Act of 1798, Lawton in 1884, and held that keeping the surplus is a classic taking. A state may not sidestep the takings clause by simply declaring that the owner's interest in the surplus doesn't exist. And one line named the whole story. The county could not use the toehold of the tax debt to confiscate more property than was due. Notice what the court didn't do. It didn't invent a new right. It restored an old one, reasoning from 1215, 1798, and 1884. The correction wasn't an innovation, it was a memory. Tyler didn't end the story, it moved the battlefield. Legislatures scrambled. Reform statutes swept through more than a dozen states in 2023 and 2024, and money followed. A $109 million settlement fund in Minnesota, $38 million in Michigan. State courts pushed further. In New Jersey, 3 unpaid sewer bills totaling $606 had snowballed into a judgment erasing roughly $500,000 of equity. In 2025, the state's highest court unwound it and held that even a private investor running the county's machinery can be treated as the state itself. Then came the sequel. In June 2026, in Pung versus Isabella County, the Supreme Court answered the question Tyler left open. Surplus over what? The Pung family's home was assessed at $194,400. The auction brought $76,008. 7 justices held that after a fairly conducted sale, the owner is owed the surplus of the actual sale price, not of fair market value. So the surplus is now guaranteed, but the auction hammer sets its size, and the fight has moved again to the fairness of the sale itself. Who shows up to bid, how the property is marketed, where the minimum bid is set. That's where a homeowner's equity now lives or dies, and open edges remain. Some claim deadlines are brutally short. Alaska bars claim 6 months after the sale, and Iowa's unusual auction produces no surplus at all, by design. Zoom out and 2 centuries compress into one sentence. A government collecting a tax debt may take what it is owed and must render back the overplus, a rule written in 1798, forgotten by half the country and remembered by a unanimous court in 2023. If there's a practical residue for you, it's a quiet one. Property tax debt is small but leveraged. Notice letters are worth opening, and surplus claims often carry short, hard deadlines. All of it is state law, so if this ever touches you or someone you know, the specifics are worth checking locally. And to be clear, nothing in this video is legal advice. You can't control the statute or the auction or the interest rate. What you can control is understanding the mechanism, and now you do. Thanks for watching. Next time, the notice problem. How the courts taught the state that before it takes a house, it has to genuinely try to find you.